Welcome to the Showboys Newscast, bringing you all news and no opinion. I'm Mike,
I'm Chili.
and this is a very special episode of the Newscast. Um, it is, I, is it unfortunate or is it kind of like exciting? I think it
I
maybe it's.
personally think it's exciting because I hate reading things, so so I guess it's a personal thing. But
You might have mixed feelings, but this is the finale of the Showboys newscast. After tonight's episode 39 will be the last newscast of the Showboys podcast. However, we will be merging the news right into our Thursday night episodes. So each week we'll start our show off with a short news segment, bringing you the latest news and rumors in the industry. Um, I'm actually excited. At first I was a little sad. But getting ready to start the show tonight, I was like, you know, uh, kind of tearing up a little bit, like I was about to put my dog down or something. But I think the new format will be a lot better. We'll be able to get stories out to you in a more timely manner instead of compiling a giant list of articles and stories for every 2 weeks and then slamming them all into one episode. We'll be able to stay a little more relevant on a weekly basis. But I know I will still be browsing the web and finding stories. I'm sure Chad will be doing the same. Who knows what Nick's doing, during his free time. But the newscast channel in our Discord has kind of been repurposed already, but will continue to be repurposed into a nice little news funnel for you guys. I've been posting a lot of pictures and articles and stuff of breaking tidbits here and there. So you'll still, if you want the constant stream of updates, make sure you join our Discord and check out the newscast channel. There's always something being put in there. So without further ado, Chad, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, and this might be a first, which is odd because it's the last one that we're doing. I don't think I've ever gone first in the 29 episodes of newscasts that I've been on, because I don't think I was on the first 10.
Yeah, well, hey, what a better time than now,
Right, might as well just dive head in, right? We're going to start with some gaming news, obviously, since it's me starting. And we're going to start with the PAX organizer, ReedPop, is running E3 2023. ReedPop will add another top notch to its belt, previously organizing PAX, EGX, Star Wars Celebration, and New York Comic-Con. ReedPop has now teamed up with Entertainment Software Association to help organize E3 2023. This comes following the complete cancellation of E3 2022, which we covered on here a couple weeks ago. June of 2023, we will see the return of E3 in its traditional home of Los Angeles, and will feature in-person and online showcases. More information to follow, but it will be great to have E3 back. I agree. I was super bummed that it got canceled this year, primarily because I'm like holding on to the little glimmer of hope that Downright Creepy might send me there as as a writer. So it's cool to see that it's coming back. Even though it was like a lot of work to cover E3 for the websites or the website back then, last year or 2 years ago, maybe, it was fun, dude. It was the most fun I've ever had. Like I said, I think I cranked out like 20 something articles over the course of 3 days.
Yeah. I saw this article and I was like, Chad probably is peeing his pants right now. He's probably so excited.
Yeah.
I know that companies the last several years have kind of been like bowing out of E3 and kind of hosting their own things and Nintendo Directs and State of Plays and whatever Xbox calls their thing. And individual studios, do their own thing like EA and whatever. But it'll be nice to have the kind of the one that started it all, right? Back in action. And it will be even better with you covering it.
Yeah, I think that my hope is that eventually, like, at least Sony will come back to E3. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's odd because in the years leading up to the cancellation or the kind of Sony pulling out of E3, they were slaughtering Microsoft every year. So it's not like they pulled out because they kept getting their asses kicked at E3. It was the total opposite. So it was like they pulled out on a high note type of deal.
Mercy.
Yeah, yeah. So it was super odd that they pulled out. I personally like the state of plays because we get more of them throughout the year versus one giant, conference at E3. So
yeah, hopefully they continue to do a combination of the smaller, more frequent announcements, conferences, whatever you want to call them, and then maybe like save huge stuff for an E3 presentation. Because you're right, I love the fact that Nintendo has directs, maybe every quarter, state of plays. Everyone, so often they even like last week they released 7 or 8 articles on indie titles on their website, which was awesome. But yeah, I don't know. The more announcements studios and developers make, the better, I think. So
yeah, I agree. I just miss the kind of competitive feel that E3 had between Microsoft and Sony. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And like one of the greatest memories of E3 for me was when they announced the PS4 and the Xbox One, and it was just like a total slaughter fest on Sony's part. They came out, like Microsoft came out and didn't show a single game. They showed like all the TV stuff. They were really pushing for that one part of Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sony came out and showed all badass games, and they were $100 cheaper on their console. So it was like, holy crap, dude! Like,
do you want to have a very expensive,
Netflix machine?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. All right, we're going to move on to a rumor here. After years of unsuccessfully attempting to launch an Uncharted franchise, Sony may have finally found the foothold it is looking for. The recent Uncharted film, starring Tom Holland as the lead character, Nathan Drake, was a box office success, occurring more than $400 million. While reviews were less glowing than they likely hoped, it appears the series is finally off the ground, despite no official announcement of a sequel being made as of yet. Unconfirmed reports suggest that Sony fully views this as a franchise now and are looking to lock down Holland for future films. Holland, who's also the face of the Spider-Man franchise, will be counted on to anchor the Uncharted films going forward. Uncharted is arriving on Netflix soon, where many people like myself who avoid seeing Uncharted in theaters will get our first glimpse of the new Uncharted franchise. And that's obviously Cody's writing there. I think Mike and I both went and saw this in the theater.
Yep.
And like I said back then when we covered it, I thought it was good. I think it's well worth continuing as a franchise. For a first entry, I thought it was good. There were odd things throughout it, like Nathan Drake's gum chewing, which literally has never happened once in the game that they really made a point of throughout the, so it's fine though. I think it's for my money, it's the best video game live action adaptation that I've ever seen. I don't know about you, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking scenes straight from the game translated on screen, there were quite a few really good ones. Honestly, the Resident Evil movie did a really good job at that too, at times.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one yet. I really need to.
The only thing that was confusing to me about the movie, besides all of it, was why they decided to basically tell or like use parts and pieces from each game in one movie and then end it as like the start of the first game.
Oh yeah.
That part had me lost, but other than that, I liked Tom Holland as Nate. Wasn't Mark Wahlberg as Sully? He grew on me towards the end.
Yeah, same here.
Had funny parts, great action scenes, and just seeing the scenes that they tried to basically 100% replicate from the game into the movie, I thought were really cool.
Yeah, I thought they were really cool too. The plane sequence, I think, it was done really well. Like I said, my only mix up with the whole thing is they just start telling like a very cut up and put together Uncharted story, and like you said at the end, they try to start with Uncharted ones, but they already told stuff from 4 and 3, and you know, so they'll have to iron that stuff out, but I'm sure they'll be able to do it. And I got to be honest, nobody talked more shit about Tom Holland as Nathan Drake when they announced that, and I thought he did a good job, to be honest with you. So
nice.
So let's move on to some weeb news here, and that is Persona, Catherine, Shin Megami Tensei, and other Atlas game franchises could get a live-action film or TV series. Sega announced that they are exploring such a possibility and had this to say about Atlas series. Quote, Atlas worlds are filled with high drama, cutting-edge style, and compelling characters. Stories like those from the Persona franchise really resonate with our fans, and we see an opportunity to expand the lore like no one has seen or played before, end quote. As Sega is just beginning to dip their toes into the water here, there's no other details available at this time, but following the success of the Sonic movies and the source material at play here, there's a lot of potential for interesting films and shows. So I put this in here, obviously, because I'm a huge Persona fan. This, unfortunately, is probably every one of these that are listed here, Persona, Catherine, Shin Megami Tensei, are going to translate horrifyingly terrible to live action. It's going to be, it's going to be as bad as like trying to translate Mortal Kombat to live action.
Yeah, I know nothing about these games.
Yeah.
I just hear Persona and think like anime Degrassi.
yeah.
But I never watched that show either because I was too old for it. So unfortunately, I have no comment here. But
yeah, I think that Persona might be the one that is easiest to translate. Catherine would probably be all right too. Catherine's about a guy that is having an affair, and he keeps having nightmares about the girl that he's having an affair with, and it's a puzzle game. So you go into his nightmares at night and try to run away from this demonic lady that's chasing you. So it's cool. I think it's on the Switch too now. You can play it. I might be misremembering that, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think that these would translate far better to anime. Persona obviously already has animes adaptations for most of the games, but we will see. So let's move on to some Elden Ring and From Software news here. As Elden Ring remains ever popular, its developer, From Software, is working on their next game already, and it may be closer to release than you would imagine. In a recent interview, a spokesperson from Software announced that an unknown project is currently in the final stages of development, but they're not done yet. As seen on their Twitter page, they're continuing to look for new talent to work on future releases, including games like the one described by the Elden Ring director as more abstract fantasy that uses ideas that don't quite fit into the usual Souls-like adventure template. Finally, it's rumored that Armored Core is being revived. The sci-fi series has popped up in screenshots alongside various gameplay details like, quote, three-dimensional and dynamic action, a high degree of freedom in customization as you move your mech around an overwhelmingly scaled map to explore, end quote. So I really hope that this game that's nearing completion is Sekiro 2. I almost guarantee with 100% certainty it is not. I also totally forgot that they did Armored Core. And I know that there have been a ton of people that want Armored Core to come back. I haven't played Armored Core since the first one on the PlayStation 1, like in the 90s. So I can't comment on really anything about the game. But that would
definitely fit the don't quite fit the usual Souls-like adventure template part of that article.
Yeah, right. I don't know. it is a little odd that they just released Elden Ring, which is the biggest game they've ever released, and they already have another game like in the wings finishing up.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells me that it's maybe a much smaller game. So an Armored Core would probably fit that a little bit better.
Yeah, dude. Who was I talking? Maybe it was BioCiv. I don't remember. Somebody I was talking to recently was like, "Man, I need a new mech game. I haven't had a mech game in a while."
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I never really got into mech stuff, but I would love to. So if a new game comes out, I would love to dive into that because there's a lot of anime that involve mechs. There's movies, obviously.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see. If I was a betting man, it would be a Armored Core game of some sort, revival, remaster, remake, something along those lines. But really, my weeb soul is wanting Sekiro.
I wonder Sekiro how you would do your incessant rolls in a mech to avoid damage.
Yeah, that's funny. I wonder. I'm trying to think of how the gameplay was in the PS1 one, and I just remember there being a lot of like jet packing around in your mech. Like obviously it was a PS1 game back in the day, so it wasn't like
they haven't perfected the rolling technique.
Yeah, that didn't come until later.
The last mech game I played was like an I guess it was it an FPS? It was either first person or third person, but it's called Hawken on Steam.
Oh yeah.
And it was just totally PvP. I forget how big the teams were, but it was really fun. Didn't last though, rip. But more mech games, I would be down for that.
Yeah, I'm in for sure. To be honest with you, I'll probably pick up after Sekiro. I'll probably pick up every From Software game that comes out because, oh man, they're good. They're so good. We're gonna move on to my last article here, which is some more weeb stuff, of course, right? But it is a rumor. I want to start that out with a rumor because this is a rumor. But Ghost of Tsushima 2 confirmed ? Well, not quite yet, but all signs are pointing towards a sequel. The original was massively popular, reviewing and selling well, so it's not surprising it would receive an encore. A new job posting seems to confirm as much. Quote, looking for someone who can deliver interesting and varied encounters in an open world game with a particular focus on melee combat and stealth, end quote. Without context, that could just be just about any game, but in context, this is pretty telling because Sucker Punch, the developer, is known to be a one-game studio. Other listings mention a preference for applicants that are familiar with systems of its previous games. So while nothing has been confirmed, it's safe to say that Ghost of Tsushima 2 is on its way. And yeah, I think it is. I think they're obviously hinting at this. Their previous games before Ghost of Tsushima they were open world, but they were not focused on stealth by any stretch of the imagination. Ghost of Tsushima was the first one that did that. I think they'd be absolute idiots to not make a sequel to this game.
Right. I mean, my only like reference point to Ghost is you and Nick.
Yeah.
And you guys rave about it. So
yeah. I literally was just playing it before I came down here, to be honest.
Yeah. And I know Joe commented on our Facebook post today for the newscast, and he asked, did you leak this? I think you probably leaked this, right?
Yeah, I definitely leaked this.
Just trying to will this into existence.
Trying to will it into, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a couple times, obviously. There were leaks coming before the Iki Island stuff came out that said that they were working on a game that was going to be like a standalone Miles Morales type deal, like a shorter experience.
Mm-hmm.
That ended up being just DLC for the director's cut, which was the Iki Island DLC, which added a new island to explore and a new story to go through. But I think it's obvious that they're probably working on that. I would be shocked if they release something next that isn't a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, because it was so hugely popular and because there's really nothing else like it out on the market. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And I know that when people think of samurai games, they're typically not thinking of samurai fighting Mongols. They're thinking of samurai on samurai because Japan has a very violent history of civil war in itself, right? So I think it makes complete sense for them to move this game to mainland Japan instead of Tsushima and tell a inner country struggle. So we'll see. I hope that's what they do with it. The unfortunate part of it is they're going to have to divert from history a little bit because those civil wars, at least the bigger ones, didn't happen for another couple hundred years. So the next logical thing for them to do would be the second Mongol invasion of Tsushima if they want to stay in that storyline. But let's be honest, we don't want to play through another Mongol invasion on Tsushima. I think that they even hint in Iki Island that Jin is leaving for mainland Japan. So
nice.
I hope that's where they're going, and I hope they kind of break the ties with the Mongol stuff and we get some Japanese action.
Time will tell. And I hope that happens for your sake.
Oh yeah,
because
I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, I feel like if E3, E3 finally comes back, and then
they dropped
in 2023, they're like Ghost of Tsushima 2. I think Chad would probably die.
Yeah, probably because I damn near died when they announced this at E3 the first time, the original Ghost of Tsushima. So
nice. Well, not nice, but.
Yeah,
I'm glad. I guess I'll contribute now to the newscast.
Yes,
we're halfway through.
That'd be nice.
We got one piece of Marvel news, and this is kind of exciting. The Kingsman star Taron Egerton, he may be joining the MCU. He confirmed he had met with Marvel in a recent New York Times interview and has been rumored to take on the role of Wolverine. He was even asked about taking on the role, and he had this to say. Quote, I don't think it would be wrong to say that. I'd be excited, but I'd be apprehensive as well, as because Hugh is so associated with the role that I'd wonder if it'd be very difficult for someone else to do it. But hopefully, if it does come around, they'll give me a shot. He's not kidding when he says that Hugh is very much associated with the role. Jackman played Wolverine for a record 17 years, which is ridiculous. Wow, I did not realize that he had done it for so long.
Yeah,
But basically half my life, Hugh Jackman was Wolverine.
Yeah.
I like Taron. The Kingsman movies are awesome.
I've only caught clips, like brief moments of them on the TV at the fire department when you guys are watching them. I never actually sat down and watched them, but they do look really, really good. Action-wise, at least.
They're like just off the wall, which they're great. I would say, I would recommend if you have a spare, 2 hours, watch the first one, and if you like it, continue on. But they're really fun movies, very action oriented, violent stuff. So he would fit right in, jumping into the MCU superhero role with all the fight scenes and stuff that he's done in the Kingsman. I think a much younger Wolverine.
Much younger, which is interesting. We'll see. I gotta be honest, man. I love the XMen movies. I know that's kind of like, obviously there are a couple of them that are not very good, but the most recent one, Dark Phoenix, dude, I love Dark Phoenix. I thought it was good. I don't know why. Maybe it was because I watched it with Brady and he loved it so much. It just hyped me up. Same with the Uncharted movie. Same deal. He liked it so much that I was hyped about it. But I wouldn't say that you should worry about taking on the role because he played it for so long. Like that shouldn't even be a thought in your mind. And I think that's a little concerning, actually, if it is a thought in his mind. Like he should be wanting to bring something fresh to the character, not worrying about the actor that played him prior. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That is weird, but kind of understandable. Like it's 17 years, man.
Yeah, that's a long time. I mean, those early X-Men movies came out in like the early 2000s, I think. So
well, it's just like, I kind of get it though, because anytime anyone says Wolverine, their mind automatically goes to Hugh Jackman. So it's
for
like,
sure, yeah.
It's like kind of out of respect, but also I think there's partial, like, I probably won't even get recognition or like remembered as Wolverine because
of him. Yeah.
he's like, just like Robert Downey Jr. will always be Iron Man, and like Chris Evans will always be Captain America.
Yeah,
Hugh
but
Jackman will always be Wolverine.
that's true, but you could say the same thing about Professor X in
Exactly.
James McAvoy taking over Professor X. I thought he did a great job. So same with Michael Fassbender, I think is his name, as Magneto. He did a good job too. So
Yeah,
it's definitely possible to come into these roles and shine on your own. So
very, very good points.
Yeah.
Very good. But yeah, stay tuned, and we'll see if Taron gets a shot or not. I hope so. I think he'd be good. But we got a couple more stories here for you. I found a cool looking trailer for a movie called Polaris. This is basically Mad Max in the Arctic. And this is how the director K.C. Carthew describes their upcoming film Polaris. The movie is set in 2144 against the harsh backdrop of a frozen wasteland. Sumi, a human child raised by a mama polar bear, narrowly escapes capture from a brutal Morad hunting party and sets out across the vast winter landscape. When Sumi stumbles across Frozen Girl, an unlikely friendship is forged, and together they race ahead of the vindictive hunters towards the only guiding light Sumi knows, the Polaris star. The film is an entirely female cast, including the polar bear, because we were all curious. And Polaris will launch later this year at the Fantasia Film Festival. So from what I gathered from the trailer, very indie. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It might be a foreign movie too. There wasn't much dialogue, but from what I heard, it did not sound like English. So you got like a foreign indie film, but the concept is pretty cool. Even some of the costumes of the characters were very Mad Max inspired, you could tell.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like Mad Max out in
the
a
Arctic.
frozen tundra, which is,
you know how I feel about the horror elements in the snow. I think it's good. So if they lean into the horror aspect of it, I think it could be really good. It's a bummer that it's not in English. I'm trying to become better at watching movies that aren't in English and subtitled, but it's just not. It's not grasping, man.
Yeah,
it's not grasping. I don't know why.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, I agree.
Like Brady and I at the end of our episode last night, we're talking about new animes to watch since we just finished that one, and there's a baseball anime that he really wants to watch, but it's not dubbed. And I'm like, he really wants to watch it, and he's like, I'm fine watching it in subtitles. I was like, oh man, but I'm really not, and it's like 50, it's like 50 episodes long, so it's like a long slog to get through. 50 episodes subtitled, but
baseball anime.
Yeah, which sounds odd because you think baseball is like a American thing, but it's actually hugely popular in Japan.
Oh, yeah. Lots of Japanese players make their way over here.
Yeah. So there's actually like a pretty long list of baseball anime.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This next story, actually the next two stories have me very excited. This one is more of an apprehensive excitement than the last story. But yeah, stop me if you've heard this before. But the Community movie may be close to reality. Joe McHale, one of the stars of the hit series, had this to say recently, quote, I'm setting aside all the money to make the movie happen. Before, when I'd answer the question, I'd be like, maybe, I have no idea. But now with its success on the streamers during the pandemic, the interest has returned. I would say it's more likely than it was before, definitely. But it's like building an aircraft carrier. You go, we're going to do this, right? Yeah, okay, everyone's here. We got the money. Now this thing has to actually get built. There's a lot more than just, hey, let's make a movie now. Great. It's a lot of moving parts, so I'm more positive than I was, definitely, but we'll see. That's a terrible answer, but definitely better than my answer 2 years ago. So pretty much this paragraph quote was a lot of talking in circles and
Yep.
not really saying anything. Saying, yeah, it's definitely possible, but it's kind of also maybe not possible. So, but they're talking about it again, and man, as someone who got on the Community train way late, this show is amazing. It is probably my favorite sitcom of all time. And
Really? Wow.
like it's just so brilliant. Dan Harmon, of course, the creator of Rick and Morty, he did Community, and it's basically live action Rick and Morty set in a community college. The jokes are so meta and like they're so self-aware. The cast is great. It's the humor is just it's hysterical. It's one of my favorite shows. It was on our top sitcoms episode of the podcast where Nick and I kind of gushed about it for a while. But yeah, I mean, one of the running jokes throughout the series, especially later on in the last few seasons, was 6 seasons in a movie. So that's kind of been the running joke ever since the series ended. It's like, okay, well, we got our 6 seasons. Where's the movie? But Donald Glover was in the cast, so trying to get anything done with Donald
him
Glover
in it,
basically impossible.
Lost cause.
So yeah, I'll hold out hope, but I will not hold my breath because I would probably die. Talk a lot about death tonight.
Yes.
So,
it's good every now and then.
Yeah, and hey, it kind of that was a totally not an unintentional segue into the next story here. But yeah, Matt and Ross Duffer, known collectively as the Duffer Brothers, have launched Upside Down Pictures. That's right, man. They launched their own little studio. The Stranger Things creators are working on several projects with Netflix. The Talisman, a live-action Death Note series, and then a Stranger Things spin-off. The brothers have also teamed up with Hilary Leavitt from Leavitt. We'll say Levitt, who is part of Ozark and Shining Girls. See, this is what you're gonna miss with the newscast being over.
Right. Us stumbling over our words.
Soak it in, the names, But anyways, Hillary will be teaming up with the brothers to run the company. The Duffers said, quote, "It didn't take long into our first meeting with Hillary, where we bonded over films like Jaws, Home Alone, and Speed, to know we have found a kindred spirit. Hillary's passion for storytelling is perhaps matched only by her passion for the storytellers themselves, for whom she is fiercely protective. No wonder so many writers and directors are drawn to working with her. She's a rare talent indeed, and we feel extremely grateful to have her at our side as we build Upside Down Pictures. As a big Stephen King fan, I'm glad to see The Talisman get a film adaptation." Yeah, Cody's big Stephen King fan. But this news coming hot off the tails of the just massive success of season 4 of Stranger Things. And it couldn't have been timed better. Season 4 of Stranger Things is probably the best season of the series, and it's been amazing. So yeah, Netflix, give these guys money, let them make more stuff, because Stranger Things was great. We're getting a spin-off, which is really cool. But yeah,
I have
let them
read
more.
Yeah, for sure. I have read a couple Stephen King's books, but I've never heard of The Talisman. However, Death Note is hands down one of my favorite anime of all time. So it's super cool to see that randomly popped up in here, and them doing a Death Note series sounds freaking amazing, because they did do, and I don't know if Netflix like owns the rights for it, because Netflix did do a live action Death Note movie. Unfortunately, it was not well received by everybody but me. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I know a lot of people thought that they diverted way too far from the anime, primarily in setting it in America, in an American high school, which seems odd to take something that's set in Japan in a high school and try to translate it into American high school. But I thought it was good. It's not, I think these guys could do a way better job at adapting it into a live action series. So that's super exciting to see that on here.
Right on. Yeah, it should be great. I'm excited for more Duffer Brothers. Again, no more Matt and Ross. That just sounds weird. They will always be referred to as one, the Duffer Brothers.
Duffer Brothers.
But yeah, welcome to Star Boy. Just had to do it one last time on the newscast.
We had nothing.
Yeah, there's since Nick isn't here tonight, he's out of town on a work trip. We didn't cover any Star Wars news. I will summarize though. Basically, all the articles out there right now are Taika Waititi like running fans around, just basically trolling Star Wars fans about the movie he's going to make. So you can go look those up if you want.
Yeah, I saw those. That's an interesting strategy he has.
Yeah, and I'm hearing a lot of mixed reviews about Love and Thunder, and that makes me nervous about
Did he do that?
Star Wars project. Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest with you, even if he's joking and trolling Star Wars fans, like this isn't the community to do that to. Not the fan base to do that to.
Yeah.
So honestly, if I was like whoever is funding that project, I'd be like, okay, dude, you're done. We'll move on. Yeah. Thank you though, because
yes. I think I have. All right. So, I mean, we're at 38 minutes. So it's one of the shortest newscasts. So I'm just going to talk about one thing before we wrap up here. I think that we're seeing the hubris of Taika Waititi really like start to mess with his work. I think he's rightfully so gotten a lot of acclaim over the last few years, especially with Ragnarok. That was a great movie. But now I think he like thinks he can get away with things creatively, and just kind of like do whatever he wants. Because it sounds like that's what he wants to do with Star Wars, and I feel like that's not what you do with Star Wars, really.
No, because that's like, to be honest with you, bro, that gives me Rian Johnson vibes.
Right. This universe has only been being built for like 50 years or something.
Yeah, right.
Like, you don't really got to change anything or try to reinvent the wheel.
No.
But like, I don't know. That's kind of what it sounds like he did with Love and Thunder. I saw an article here. Let me see if I can pull it up real.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you do with Star Wars fans, especially when we have such a rich, expanded universe to dive into. You don't come out and say, "Yeah, I don't really have time to read any of that crap." So
yeah.
It's like, okay, bro. Well, maybe you're not the dude for the job, you know?
Yeah. The title of this article, Thor Jokes and Jokers, which is basically like a quote from it. One more joke and it would have been a parody. Maybe it is. So that kind of makes me a little nervous because Marvel, the MCU has teetered on the brink of like, parody. All right, like I get the humor, sometimes it's good, but a lot of times it's like they feel like they have to insert a one-liner or a joke like every 5 minutes.
Right.
It's just like, can we just let a story play out without having to crack a joke? And it sounds like Love and Thunder crossed the line finally. But anyways, that's my random thing. Lastly, What We Do in the Shadows, another Taika Waititi masterpiece, though.
I've never seen any of the Thor movies, so I have no context for Ragnarok.
It was good. But What We Do in the Shadows season 4 starts tomorrow. So
sweet.
Keep an eye out on that. That's a great show. But with that being said, thank you for joining us here on the finale of the newscast. It's been a great 39 episode run, but don't worry if you only listen to the newscast for some reason. We have a podcast, brand new episode every week on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. here on YouTube, on our Facebook page, and on our Twitter. We will be merging a shorter abbreviated version of the newscast into our Thursday night episodes every single week. So tune in there. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe everywhere you consume our content. You can also find our ever-growing archive of episodes, gaming content, reviews, and more on our new website, showboysmedia.com. Also, be sure to join our Discord server and become a member of the Showboys community. Hang out with Chad and I and Nick and the other Showboys staff. There's tons of channels, conversations going on about everything you could probably imagine, as well as our retooled and repurposed newscast channel where we will be dumping all of our stories into. But that's it for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Got anything else to say, Chad?
I have nothing else. Nothing else.
Nice. It's been a fun run, guys. We'll see you on Thursday. Have a great night.